Luminous Journey is a film about Abdu'l-Baha's visit to America in 1912, a visit that we found very profound as a story. We decided to embark on a film project, not knowing how immense and all-consuming it would be for about 3 years for us. I'm Ann Perry, and I have several degrees. My final degree was a PhD in aesthetic studies, so I've been very interested in the arts and especially drama and film for many years.
And I'm Tim Perry. I have been in media production for about 40 years. And we started the Luminous Journey film project probably in 2005, I think, as we began thinking about it.
But really the seeds of the project began earlier. When we met in 1992, we shared an interest in film and video, and we had both been Baha'is for about 40 years. And one of my teachers in the Baha'i faith was Alan Ward, who had written a book called 239 Days. So since the earliest days of my Baha'i life, I was really interested and fascinated by the story of Abdu'l-Baha.
He was a gentleman who was, when he came to this country, was 67 years old. He had been a political prisoner because his father, Baha'u'llah, was the founder of a new faith. This was not a real popular thing in Iran, then Persia. The government and the clergy decided that it would be better that he not be in Persia, and so Baha'u'llah was exiled eventually to what we call the Holy Land, is Israel now, and Abdu'l-Baha then lived out most of his life in the Holy Land until he was 67, finally released by the Young Turk Revolution, and then Abdu'l-Baha was then free to travel to Europe and then eventually to the United States.
Well, he brought many messages with him, such as the message of world peace, race unity, gender equality, a hope that America would lead the world spiritually eventually. And he astonished people with his intuition, his understanding of human nature, of science. When he met people, high or low, famous or non, he would give them what they needed individually. And so people were very drawn to him. And we found that in filming these stories, people were drawn to the stories today, that he doesn't grow old. He's a universal figure, a mysterious person in the annals of religious history, because he's neither a prophet of God nor simply a person. He's something in between. And in fact, one of his titles is the mystery of God. So it was our privilege to really think about him deeply for the years that we worked on the film and to study his impact on others. And he was gone for 3 years and 3 months in total, and only in the United States and Canada for 8 months of that time.
One thing I wanted to share was why, besides the fact that it was a compelling story and we worked in media, why did we really want to do this? And I always sort of share that there were two reasons. The first one being that the centenary, the 100th anniversary of his visit, was approaching. And we thought it would be nice to have a documentary that we could share with various Baha'i communities across the country and in Canada. The second one, for me anyway, was he had such a clear vision of America's spiritual destiny as a leader in the world to bring universal peace to this planet. He saw in the American people something very unique and special. Perhaps it was the fact that we are a composite of people from all countries in the world. And he often would say prayers and have blessings and wishes that this nation will fulfill its spiritual destiny as he saw it. And so I began to think about, first of all, our nation, and sometimes it seems kind of bleak, or things are not going well, or the future is dark. And his vision was always that the future is positive and optimistic, and so we wanted to share that optimism in the the film, and that this was part of American history.
Well, I've always enjoyed drama and costumery and such, and entering into the spirit of something, the experiential aspects of the arts and life in general. So when we started traveling, we simply took costumes and asked volunteers as we would go to different places. And some of these were not people that had known about Abdu'l-Baha or the Baha'i faith, but simply were willing to help us out and have an interesting experience. And so one day we rented a train it was in Texas actually, and Tim shot a scene with probably 20 or 30 people dressed up on the train, and that was really fun. And then while I was working on the script, I realized that some scenes wouldn't translate well into video, so we eliminated many stories that we might have told because of visual challenges to recreate 1912. But we couldn't have made this film without the support of many, many people, both in terms of volunteer hours of assistance, also the donations that came in, because people loved Abdu'l-Baha, and somehow they trusted that these two artists that they probably didn't know anything about would actually come through and fulfill this giant project. And we were sustained by that, and I think that's a real challenge in the arts today, particularly in film, that it needs support. We need to encourage artists, we need to develop our talents, we need to hone our skills, and we need to produce works that will inspire people to think differently so that the world can progress toward greater evolution socially, spiritually, and have hope for the future. And the person of Abdu'l-Baha really inspires that.
We hope that we can get other translations done, and so that it has a wider audience for those who aren't English speakers, and that we maybe get an opportunity to tell the European story, which would sort of make his travels away from Palestine a more complete presentation, a more complete history, if you will.
The whole journey of Abdu'l-Baha is very much one for the world to study and reflect on and be inspired by, that we can be proud that he came to our country, but also that his life was really a gift to the world as a whole, to help show a new way of thinking. Everywhere he went, he would demonstrate the effect of progressive thinking, of love versus prejudice, of equality. And we just hope that it will be a lasting legacy that will help people understand Abdu'l-Baha's station and his person better.